Good afternoon, everyone. What's happening? Thursday, the 12th of August, and it's 20 to 3. And I'm uh, I'm having a chat to you in the afternoon because I started having a chat this morning, and something went wrong with the whole thing, and eventually it just stopped. But it stopped after about 10 minutes. But there was only then 3 minutes of the whole thing there. What's that all about? Well, Facebook glitch, probably just as well because I was having a bit of a rant, um, to say the least. Um, what I was talking about, so what I said was in my little message on the Self Care Shorts Facebook feed, was I said I'd have another go this afternoon or later in the day if I've got time. So here it is. And I was talking about leisure time, and I was talking about John Maynard Keynes said um, that he was writing in the kind of early 20th century. If you look at his books, they were published kind of, I don't know, 1918, 1920s, 1930s, that kind of thing. So he's writing in that kind of era. And what he was saying was the problem we would have now, so like 100 years later or thereabouts, the problem we would have now, because um, production methods and technology and everything would have moved on so much, the problem we would have in the here and now would be, what on earth do we do with all of the leisure time we've got? Because I think it was him that predicted as well that at the standard of living then, if we'd maintained that standard of living, we could have got away with only working 3 days a week and maintained the same standard of living. So what's happened to this prediction that we would be struggling on trying to figure out what to do with our leisure time, when in fact what we're doing is struggling to find any leisure time? I'm going to drink my vanilla chai. We're struggling to find any leisure time at all, aren't we? What we know is that, don't we, is that rest is just so important. Finding that leisure time is really, really important. But what I find interesting, and I say this often when I'm talking to people about self-care and productivity, is the thing that interests me is there's a disconnect between um, what we know we should do to support and help ourselves and what we then actually do. Because I'm gonna guarantee that often when I'm talking to people, um, the majority of stuff, at least 50-60% of the stuff I tell them about the importance of exercise or nutrition or sleep, that they already know. Yet there's a disconnect between what we know and then what we do. And that's because rather than work having shrunk to this Keynesian level of 3 days a week to maintain a good, decent standard of living, it's expanded, hasn't it? It's expanded into um, into that leisure time, and we can't find the leisure time to kind of recuperate. And actually, leisure time to me feels like the wrong phrase, because leisure time feels like it's just a lounging about thing that where nothing is happening. And what I say all the time is that actually we need to be productive in our rest. Our rest needs to be productive in the sense that it's helpful and supportive of our kind of total way of being, I guess. And so I found that interesting. That I came across the Keynesian thing in something I was listening to, and I just thought, and I'd read it before, and I just thought, isn't that really, really interesting that we've got ourselves to we've got ourselves to this point. I'm just having a scroll through something here because there was something that I wanted to say about that. Yes, that was it. Um, and I talk about resilience a lot in connection with this, and I love this quote. I'm back with Bruce Daisley in his podcast. I'm loving Bruce Daisley's podcast at the minute. And somebody on there said resilience is not about how you endure, but about how you recover. So there's this idea that if we're resilient, we'll be able to tough it out and get through, and we'll just work harder and it'll all be fine. And actually, resilience is not about that. Resilience is about the recovery part. We recover in order to be resilient. We don't be resilient by pushing on through the pain and the trauma of kind of all of that work that there is to do and just doing more. That's not how we become resilient. We become resilient in the quiet kind of restful moments, if you like. And some of those restful moments are when we take ourselves away, when we go off and be quiet, but also we can be restful in a sense when we're kind of doing things. And this is where kind of this idea of mindfulness kind of comes in, isn't it? About being mindful and being in the moment. And mindfulness is just about that. It's not about some kind of clearing of your mind. It's not about clearing out everything and thinking of nothing. It's about cultivating a kind of curiosity about the present, about cultivating being in the present moment. A kind of acceptance, I suppose. I mentioned the other day that we ruminate on the past and ruminate on the future too much. Ruminating on the past gets us nowhere because those things have come and gone, haven't they? We're not going to change them. So going over the emotions of them and all that kind of thing isn't really helpful. I think a period of reflection directly after things is useful, but then we've got to put it to bed. And it's the so I'm not saying we don't think about the past, we just don't ruminate on it. We have a look at it, explore it, and then move on from it. And it's the same with the future. We shouldn't ruminate on the future. We should grab it, bring it into the present, and plan it. So it's about cultivating this idea of presence in the moment, about accepting what is here and now. Tuning into your observer self is one of the kind of phrases that was used about this. So tuning into what it is you're observing and what the emotions are, but remembering you are not those emotions. We're observing our emotions when we're being mindful, but not becoming those emotions. So I think mindfulness. I started off there talking about the fact it was quite a productive thing, and I've ended up in a kind of very bit more of a spiritual kind of area. But mindfulness to me is not a spiritual thing; it's a very practical, pragmatic thing. Not becoming your emotions. So I thought that was interesting, and some of that stuff is about being mindful when you're working, but some of it's about being mindful when you're resting as well. About when you're taking time out and that's that leisure time. That's that leisure time that Keynes says we're going to be awash with, that we aren't awash with. Um, but what's the problem there, I suppose? We have to demand of ourselves putting that time aside to build up our resilience so we have that energy, I suppose, ready and available to us when we've got tasks and things to complete. So anyway, here I am in the afternoon, and that's what I was kind of saying this morning when I was when I was rudely interrupted by some Facebook problem, and now it's been by Christine coming in. It's all going on today. What on earth is happening? But there you go. Anyway, that's what I was saying. Leisure time really important. Mindfulness really important. Build your resilience when you are resting, rather than when you are trying to push through loads of work, which is not the way to kind of think about it or do it. Anyway, there you go. That was this morning. That was this afternoon. That was today. Goodness knows what's going on in the world of the technology realm of Facebook. Hopefully this one's worked. It has. It doesn't. It looks like it might have. There you go. But I'll definitely check in the morning with you all. So we'll see you. We'll see you then for some more. What on earth's going on? Catch you later.